All right, and we're back. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go ahead and do step 2 here. Dump text into a file. So now we need to go ahead and get the text and then save it to a file. So let's just go ahead and jump into our code editor and get started. So we're gonna go to YouTube ingest. And let's go ahead and clean this up a bit. Let's go ahead and define a function. So def get feed, and let's go ahead and say URL that we're going to pass in here. Awesome. And there we go. So we have a default URL, which we'll keep that there. Let's go ahead and move this. There we go. Awesome. So now we have a portion where we can go ahead and get the feed. Now, what we want to do is we want to go ahead and get a list of all of the relevant links to get the transcripts from. So we're going to go ahead and say transcript URLs. Let's go ahead and we're going to go ahead and make that an empty array. And let's go ahead and instead of printing the links, let's go ahead and add to this particular array. So let's go transcripts.url and let's go extend and let's just go ahead and say entry.link. Awesome. So now let's just go ahead and test this out. Let's go ahead and print transcript URLs. Make sure it works. Right, we want to go ahead and say get feed. Awesome. So it's actually not working as we expected. So we don't want to extend, we want to append. That was the wrong function there. Awesome. So now we have a bunch of links. And this is exactly what we're looking for. Let's just click a random one. Let's make sure we go somewhere.
Alrighty.
All right. There we go. So now we did a get feed. Let's go ahead and do a function to, and we know we're going to go ahead and return the transcript URLs. Let's go ahead and remove that. Now let's go ahead and get the transcript from YouTube. So for this, we're going to go ahead and use an API or a package called YouTube transcript API. So we're going to say, whoops, let's go ahead and install this. So let's go pip install YouTube transcript API. Make sure you spell that correctly. All right, let me go ahead. So it looks like I'm not installed. So we're going to go ahead and find it. So here's what I'm doing here. And we can just go ahead and YouTube transcript API. We found it. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, pip install that. And we're going to say from YouTube transcript API, import the class. Awesome. So now what we want to go ahead and do is, what I like to do first is just write out the code, what we need to do. So first, we need a file to go ahead and write this transcript to. But first, let's go ahead and test this transcript API to go ahead and see if what we're actually getting is correct. So let's go transcript URLs. Let's store that array into a variable, and then we'll say for transcript and it's not doing my autocomplete, which is kind of annoying. For, let's say, URLs in, let's go ahead and print URLs. Great. And we're going to be passing in a transcript ID. So let's go here and run this one more time. Awesome, so we have this. So let's go ahead and say transcript equals YouTube API, and we'll say .get transcript, and we'll pass in the URL. Let's go ahead and it's called URL because it's one. Let's rename this. I don't know why I keep doing that. Nervousness. Okay, so it looks like we need to actually just pull the ID. So what we want to do is from the feed, let's see if we can go ahead and get the ID from the feed. And let's see. Yes, we can. YT video ID. So we're going to say get ID video IDs. Awesome. And we're going to say entry dot YT underscore video ID. And that's what we should need, and we should be able to run this now and it should work. So we want to say get video IDs, and there we go. So it's getting them, but we want to print the transcript. So let's do that. Awesome. So it looks like it's giving us some objects here. Let's go ahead and see what they look like. Let's see if we can get one here. So it's a list of objects. So when we print it out, it looks like it's stringing it in a way where there's a lot of these different objects in here, and it's containing the duration of particular points inside of this. So we want to go ahead and say for T in transcript. So I'm just looking for the text in the transcript, right? And we want to go ahead and say print T at the text, right? Because we see here that this is just an array of stuff. So let's just go ahead and see what that looks like. And then we'll go ahead and we'll break after the first one. So you can see here what it do, back again. All right, so that I missed the morning outlook, but we're gonna go ahead and do it again. So full transparency, I did lose 2 trades today. Okay, so it looks like if someone's speaking particularly clearly, you can get the text that they're saying. So as you can see here, this isn't structured very well, and I'm sure we can go ahead and pass this some AI and clean it up a bit, but this is the general point here. So now we need to go ahead and create a file. Now the name of the file should be something useful, but let's go ahead and create a folder first. Let's go here and we'll say bfill trades. And we're gonna go ahead and create a file. So after we get the transcript, we're gonna say file name. Let's go ahead and open. So let's think of it. Let's think about this for just a moment. This functionality in and of itself, right? We get a URL and we want to go ahead and get the transcript for that URL, loop through it, and then write to a particular file. So let's go ahead and create a function that's going to do this for us. So we'll go define and we'll write transcript. And we're going to need the ID, so YT ID. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to need the transcript number. Now, this is just so we can organize our particular videos. We may not need this if we can just use something like the video name. What I'm seeing inside of some of these video names, they're just kind of wonky or weird. And so maybe we just append the ID or use the ID of the name. But the only thing about that is there's going to be some special characters sometimes in those, which isn't always great for file names. So maybe we just go ahead and say the ID of just the transcript ID. So transcript ID. And we'll pass in a particular number in there so that as we're looping through and calling this particular helper function, we can just pass in as many transcripts as there are in that particular URL. And when I say transcripts, I'm just talking about videos that were passed back. This is for a bulk, but obviously you probably want to store this transcript ID somewhere. This is why thinking about these things ahead of time, but this is just a toy demo, so just remember that. So let's go ahead and move this functionality here, and we're going to get the right here, we're going to be passed not the URL, but the YT ID, right? All right, we got the YT ID. Now, if you wanted more rich metadata, you probably would go ahead and maybe pass it some type of an array or an object, but again, you know, we're just doing the first pass here. So we have 4T, and we don't need to return anything because this is going to actually be a file. So let's go ahead and open a file here. So let's say file equals open, and we want to do a format string here. And let's go ahead and put the folder name. So we're going to dump this into bfill trades / and we'll say transcript underscore, and we'll say transcript ID. And then we'll say .txt. So this is going to be the name of the file, and of course we want to go ahead and open it up with the append permission, and that should be good there. So now we have our transcript, right? We have the entire transcript. We want to go ahead and append all the text together. So instead of printing it, let's go ahead and say we're going to write it. And let's go ahead and try here so we can handle any errors or continue if something fails, right? So we're going to try accept, and we're going to print issue processing text, and we want to go ahead and make this an F string. And let's go ahead and get the YouTube ID here. Oh wow, YT ID. And we want to go ahead and close the file just to make sure, right? Because this is going to be a single function call. So close that file there. Awesome. So if it does work though, we want to go ahead and say file.write, and we want to go ahead and write T and text. And then after it's done writing, let's go ahead and file.close. And that should do it there. So let's go ahead and test it. So for URL in this, we're going to go ahead and write transcript, and we're going to go ahead and pass it a YouTube ID. So let's say URL. Now this should be ID, and this should be transcript ID since we made that change. And let's go ahead and say ID. And again, this is on the fly. Let's go here, transcript IDs. So we want to write that ID, and then we just want to break. So let's try it out. All right, of course, we're missing the ID, so let's just pass 1 here. And great. So we look here, and boom. So there you go. It's pretty unformatted at this point. So bonus here, you can go ahead and probably go to ChatGPT, and you could say format the following text, and you pass the text, and it'll give you probably a good formatted. And it might, yeah. So you can go ahead and use this to format text if you really feel you need to. Let's see if GPT 3.5 will do it faster. Format the following text. There we go. So there we go. And it's going to go ahead and format this text, and you can do this automated, and this is going to be part of the series at a certain point where we're going to utilize GPT-3 to go ahead and format the output of the text we get from YouTube. There's probably ways you could do it in code, but this way seems to be a bit faster. So now you have this nice, neat formatted text, and you can probably go here and say new file, transcript one dot, let's go transcript one cleaned dot text. And then you have this neatly formatted. Now you could do more advanced things like give me this in markdown format, which would make this even prettier, but we're gonna keep it there for now. So I hope you learned something. This was the portion of getting the actual transcript and then writing the transcript to the file. Now the last and final step after we have our bot or our script process this particular transcript and write it to a file, we want to copy that file to S3. So go ahead and hit that thumbs up. If you learned something new, hit that like button, let me know what you think, and leave a comment. So the feedback is very important, and I want to make sure that this is super useful to you. So anyways, I'll talk to you all later. See you in the next one. Peace.